Hi, I'm Dr. Helen Fisher, and today we're diving beneath the surface of female psychology. For centuries, men have tried to decode what truly draws women in, but most are still reading the signals all wrong. The truth is, attraction isn't random. It's biological, emotional, and deeply subconscious. There are hidden weaknesses, not flaws, but emotional openings that make women feel irresistibly connected. When a man understands these triggers, he doesn't manipulate. He awakens something ancient, something magnetic. Let's uncover the science behind those hidden female weaknesses and how understanding them changes everything. When we talk about attraction, most people immediately think of looks, confidence, or charm. But the real secret, the one that often goes unnoticed, lies much deeper. It's in the emotional current that runs silently between two people. Every woman, whether she admits it or not, is deeply responsive to emotional resonance. This isn't weakness, it's biology. The female brain has evolved to detect emotional cues faster, to interpret tone, expression, and energy. Long before words are exchanged, she feels your emotional presence. She doesn't fall for the surface. She falls for the man who can make her feel seen. When a man truly listens, not just waiting for his turn to speak, but listening with empathy, curiosity, and intent, something remarkable happens in her brain. It's a subtle cascade of neurochemicals. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, begins to rise. Dopamine, the pleasure chemical, activates when she feels understood. What's happening inside her body is a physiological invitation for connection. And it's all triggered not by perfection, not by strategy, but by authenticity. When she senses you're emotionally tuned in, her guard begins to drop, even if she doesn't know why. Most men underestimate how much power lies in emotional attunement. They think being strong means hiding feelings or staying detached. But strength isn't stoicism. It's emotional intelligence. It's being grounded enough to stay open, stable enough to absorb emotion without becoming overwhelmed. When a woman sees that, she doesn't see weakness, she sees reliability. The calm presence of a man who can hold space for her emotions instead of reacting to them signals safety. That safety is her first hidden weakness. Not safety in the sense of protection from the world, but safety to be herself, raw, unfiltered, imperfect. Every woman you meet carries invisible layers. Behind her laughter, there's a history of being misunderstood, unseen, unheard. When you mirror her emotions, when you reflect what she's expressing, when you validate instead of correct, you tell her nervous system something her conscious mind can't articulate, you're safe with me. That one emotional message is more powerful than 1,000 compliments. It bypasses logic and touches the instinctive core where trust is born. In one study of couples communication, researchers found that women were more physiologically relaxed, lower heart rate, reduced stress response when their partner mirrored their emotional tone accurately. That's not coincidence. The female brain is wired to seek connection that feels emotionally synchronized. It's not about agreeing with everything she says. It's about tuning into how she feels beneath the words. Sometimes what she needs isn't a solution. It's resonance. It's presence. It's the quiet assurance is that you're listening, not fixing. But here's where most men lose the moment. They rush to logic. They explain, defend, or analyze, not realizing she doesn't want logic first. She wants empathy first. Logic closes the emotional window. Empathy opens it. The moment you give her space to be felt before being reasoned with, you awaken that hidden softness in her. And once she feels seen emotionally, her entire energy shifts. Her laughter deepens. Her eyes linger longer. Her body relaxes in your presence. Those are not surface reactions. They are biological cues of emotional safety and attraction. Emotional resonance isn't manipulation, it's alignment. When you meet her on that emotional frequency, she begins to subconsciously associate you with calm, with warmth, with belonging. In that state, she stops evaluating you through surface metrics, your looks, your income, your status, and starts responding to how she feels around you, because feelings, not facts, build connection. Her attraction begins to root in a place that's far more enduring than appearance or charm. It's why some men who aren't traditionally handsome still magnetize women effortlessly. They know how to listen. They pay attention to what isn't being said. They make her feel emotionally understood in a world that constantly misreads her. That understanding is rare, and rarity creates value. When a man can hold space for a woman's emotions without judgment, he becomes her emotional sanctuary. And that, more than anything, is what she cannot resist. Emotional resonance is not just about understanding her. It's also about understanding yourself. When you know how to navigate your own emotions, you can navigate hers. Emotional self-awareness creates emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence creates attraction. It's not a tactic, it's a truth. Because what every woman desires beneath confidence, ambition, or charm is emotional safety, the feeling that she can let down her armor and you won't run, that she can be vulnerable and you'll stay steady, that she can reveal herself fully, and you'll still see her as extraordinary. When you create that feeling, she doesn't just like you, she trusts you. And in that trust lies the deepest form of connection a man can ever experience with a woman. That is the first hidden weakness men need to understand. A woman doesn't fall for your words. She falls for the emotional world you create when she's with you. There's a certain kind of power that doesn't need to be announced. You can feel it when a man walks into a room, not because he's the loudest, not because he's trying to prove something, but because he carries himself with calm certainty. This quiet power is what draws women in on a level most men don't even realize. It's not arrogance, it's presence. And that presence awakens something deep inside a woman's subconscious, something evolutionary, something ancient. It's the subtle dominance that says, I'm grounded. You can relax now. Throughout human history, women have been attuned to detect strength, not the kind that conquers, but the kind that protects. In her biology, strength has always equaled safety. But in modern times, that signal has shifted. It's no longer about who can fight off danger. It's about who can handle life without losing composure. The man who remains centered, emotionally steady, and self-assured sends a signal that resonates deeply with her instincts. She may not be able to explain it, but she feels it. Her body reads it before her mind does. True dominance doesn't roar. It radiates. It's in the way you carry yourself when things go wrong, in how you respond instead of react. A woman's hidden weakness for calm power comes from her need to trust that a man won't crumble under pressure. When you hold your composure in moments of tension, she instinctively feels that you can also hold her moods, her vulnerability, her chaos. It's not control that attracts her. It's your ability to stay in control of yourself. That's what magnetizes her respect and quiet desire. Many men confuse dominance with control, thinking they have to assert authority to be seen as strong. But control over others is fragile. Real power is control over self. When you stay grounded while others lose balance, you become the emotional anchor in any situation. And women, consciously or not, seek that stability. It's an unspoken signal of reliability. She feels safer to open up, to trust, to let her own guard down from a biological lens. The female brain is wired to pick up micro expressions and subtle cues. She can sense the slightest flicker of insecurity or aggression. She knows instinctively when strength is forced and when it's authentic. That's why loud dominance, the kind that tries too hard, repels her. But the man who doesn't need to prove himself, who doesn't chase validation, stands out. His quiet energy communicates that he's comfortable in his skin, and that confidence, rooted in calm, makes her body respond with a mix of trust and intrigue. There's something magnetic about a man who can command a room with silence. His confidence is internal. He doesn't seek to impress. He invites respect simply by being. When he speaks, he doesn't raise his voice, he lowers the room's noise. That subtle power calms her nervous system. It tells her she can lean in. She doesn't have to perform. She doesn't have to overthink. His energy steadies her, and that is one of the most potent emotional triggers of attraction. But quiet dominance is not coldness. It's not emotional distance. It's control with compassion. It's knowing when to lead, but also when to listen. It's being confident enough to make decisions, yet humble enough to admit when you're wrong. This balance, strength with softness, is what women crave but rarely find. It creates polarity. She feels both safe and excited in your presence. She sees authority, but also warmth. She senses depth, but also calm. That combination is what her instincts label as trustworthy power. When you embody subtle dominance, you don't chase validation from her. You radiate it from within yourself. You stop seeking approval because you already move from purpose, and women are deeply attracted to that purpose-driven steadiness. It signals direction, emotional maturity, and confidence, qualities that make her want to align with your energy. A woman may admire charm, enjoy humor, and appreciate intelligence, but when she feels your quiet confidence, something shifts. She relaxes into a deeper state of attraction. She stops testing you, stops analyzing you, and starts trusting you. Because on a primal level, she senses she's in the presence of a man who knows who he is. And that, to her, is irresistible. Subtle dominance isn't about overpowering her. It's about creating harmony. It's the steady hand in the storm, the calm voice when things get tense, the confident gaze that doesn't need to prove, only to connect. It's the balance between strength and serenity, and when a man masters that, he doesn't just attract a woman's attention. He earns her respect, her admiration, and her quiet surrender. That is the second hidden weakness men need to understand. A woman's attraction to calm power isn't about control over her, but mastery over yourself. Attraction doesn't just live in the body. It begins in the mind. For women, desire often starts long before there's any physical connection. It starts with words, with curiosity, with the spark of mental chemistry that makes her feel alive. When a man engages a woman's intellect, when he stimulates her thoughts and makes her see the world in new ways, he activates a part of her brain that's directly tied to emotional bonding and even arousal. This isn't about showing off intelligence. It's about emotional and intellectual rhythm. The dance of curiosity, wit, and presence that turns simple conversation into connection. Women are drawn to stimulation that makes them feel emotionally and mentally awakened. The female brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that fuels excitement and passion, not just from physical touch, but from engaging ideas, humor, and emotional novelty. That's why a man who can make her think differently often makes her feel differently. It's not just what you say, it's how your presence makes her imagination come alive. She doesn't fall for facts, she falls for fascination. Helen Fisher, when you talk with her, it's not about trying to impress her with how much you know. It's about inviting her into a shared mental space where ideas, emotions, and laughter flow naturally. The man who knows how to ask the right questions, who listens with genuine curiosity and challenges her gently, stands out. He doesn't dominate the conversation, he co-creates it. And that collaboration lights up her mind in a way that feels intimate. She begins to associate that spark, that mental engagement with you. You become the stimulus her mind craves. It's important to understand that for most women, attraction deepens through patterns of emotional and cognitive engagement. When she feels understood and mentally challenged in equal measure, she experiences a rare sense of connection, one that's both safe and exciting. This is why the most memorable men in a woman's life aren't necessarily the most attractive ones, but the ones who made her feel something profound with their words, their insights, or even their silence at the right moment. Intellectual stimulation also communicates another kind of strength, self-awareness. When a man speaks from authenticity rather than performance, it tells her he's comfortable in his own mind. That confidence allows him to explore ideas freely without fear of judgment. It shows that he values conversation not as a competition, but as connection. And in that space, a woman's defenses fall away. Her attention sharpens. She starts to feel seen, not just for her appearance, but for her thoughts, her opinions, her essence. That's a rare and powerful experience, one that creates emotional chemistry faster than any compliment ever could. What most men miss is that women don't just want to be entertained. They want to be engaged. They want to feel like they're learning something about you and, in the process, about themselves. They want depth behind your humor, meaning behind your words, and intention behind your presence. The man who can hold that space, who can move between lightness and depth, between laughter and thought, becomes unforgettable. Because he's not just feeding her mind, he's nurturing her soul's curiosity. There's an energy exchange that happens in these moments when she feels mentally alive around you. Her body starts responding in subtle ways. The lingering eye contact, the playful smile, the soft shift in tone. These are biological signals of connection. The dopamine cycle intensifies, creating emotional momentum that feels electric. She's not just listening, she's drawn in. And what's fascinating is that the more intellectually and emotionally stimulated she feels, the more physically attracted she becomes. Her mind and body work together, creating a feedback loop that deepens the bond without her consciously realizing it. But this kind of stimulation requires authenticity. It can't be faked. Women sense pretense instantly. What captures her is not rehearsed lines or forced confidence, but genuine engagement. Your curiosity, your openness, your willingness to explore. When you can speak with passion about something that truly matters to you, when you can make her feel that spark of shared discovery, you give her something rare, the feeling of being alive in the moment. In the end, it's not about being the smartest man in the room. It's about being the most as present. The man who listens deeply, who responds with thought and warmth, who brings out her curiosity instead of just her attraction. That's the man who lingers in her mind long after he's gone. Because for a woman, desire isn't just felt. It's imagined, constructed, and nurtured in the theater of her thoughts. That is the third hidden weakness men need to understand. A woman's desire begins in her mind, and the man who can awaken her intellect will inevitably capture her heart.